This video is going to be part 2 of a video I already did regarding how to assemble or create an assembly using a Geneva Gear as the conversation item. So here is that gear, okay, that I will be working on. I have it on a separate screen, so I won't be popping this screen up anytime soon once I flip over to just working on the modeling, okay? So if you want to take a snapshot of that, in case you don't have the piece of paper in front of you, now's the time. Other than that, okay. This is the part 2 piece. We already built this guy independently and we built it from scratch, remember? And then this guy we built in relationship to this one. The last thing we did was break the relationship so that we could move the gear. When this turns, what we want to see is this guy actually turning, but in its position, not with it, which was the problem we were having in the last video. The last thing we did was rotate it, but the little Geneva piece kept the star piece kept flying with it, and that's not what we want to see happen. The only way we're going to see this happen correctly is to basically each piece has to have its own lock center position. All right, that's how we're going to verify that everything fits right. And that's how we're going to confirm what do we need to fix the last element, which I left out of the video, which was this one right here. Putting these in, remember? That is the last element of trying to finish this. And then, of course, the post is missing. Our ultimate goal is to do what with this project. For those of us in the classroom, we're looking to use the laser, right? I want you to build this thing. I want you to physically build it and see if it works. Cool? Can do it out of styrofoam. We'll probably do it out of recycled material that we have. Not brand new foam, but the recycled stuff that we use. We've got recycled pieces of plastic out there. We got a whole bunch of things to make it out of, so I'm not worried about that part. So first things first, let's see what position this is in. So I'm going to hit home, so make sure I'm in home mode. I'm going to go to this view. The two are sliding on top of each other now, so that's a good sign. If I look at the top, they're here. This one, obviously, I can spin around. This one I can't do anything with. So in order to get things aligned, one of the things I recommend to align them to each other for the purpose of just getting them to sit long enough to do everything else, is I do recommend that you constrain them to each other. So this one, go back to isometric. Right here, this particular plane, so we can lock it to this plane right here, which is the plane for everything. See that one? That's the assembly. That way you can at least constrain them to each other. Whichever way doesn't matter. The idea is to lock them to each other. Again, these two can lock them to each other. It doesn't matter which way you lock them, but just the idea is that they're locked together. That way you can do the next step. You'll have to actually repeat this action and lock these guys together. Same approach. These are constraints you'll want to remove later. Okay. When we look at the front view and you see the two lined up with each other, now we're going to assign one more constraint, and that's a center constraint. So we're going to pick constraint again. This time we're going to go like center to center. You can still use this one. What happens is you want to pick the arc of this object and the arc of this object. So now those are literally assigned to each other. They're centered to each other. You can apply an X out of that. And then we can do the last thing, which is this particular item needs a center away from this other item. You notice that? So we can actually constrain these two centers to each other. This particular center to that one. But what do we need? How do we do this? Do we want to just constrain them to each other, or what do we understand in reality land, not CADlandia, as I like to call it, just like I call Mathlandia. It's on its own little planet. CADlandia is its own little planet too. Is it attached to anything outside of infinite space? So what should we put? A base. Well, that too, a center. You're right. We need a post to just position each other, but what else is missing? A base. A base that both objects would sit on in the real world. Not CADlandia. In CADlandia, we can attach things to each other in space and everything's hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden we want to build it, and you're like, oh crap, how do we fasten these things to each other? Well, they work great in CAD. So my first comment is always, did you figure out how you're going to put this on the table? Or wherever it is that you're going to install this together so you could actually move it around in the real world? No, I didn't think of that. All right. Well, I'm going to think about it in this video. So even though in the drawing, as you learned in the last project, how much math did you have to do in the last project? Remember that? Okay, this project, it's like, oh, they look great. They're perfect. How do I install this thing? Where do I install this? How does this work? Well, it looked great on paper, right? How many times have we heard that one? This is going to look great on paper, but you won't be able to build it. That is the number one issue with it, because it has no base. And in the grand scheme of things, it's all about the base. Remember that. It's right out of that song. So we are missing a bottom to have a platform that all of this sits on. We don't yet know how this is even going to be assembled, or whether or not it can actually be assembled, because we don't have a place that it sits. So the best way to solve this problem is to go ahead and create a new part, and it's going to be called base. Okay, and then when we hit OK, it's going to say, where do you want it? So I'm going to put it against this piece, which is the bottom item. Why did I pick that as a bottom item? Just because. I know that's a very random statement, but that's the statement I'm going to give you. So I'm going to go ahead and build a, let's see if I can get back there again. I'm going to build on the underside of this a very nondescript rectangular base. I am going to give it dimensions, just because I'm incapable of not. It's in my nature to at least give things dimensions. 5 inches, good idea? Actually, it doesn't matter, does it? Anyone want to guess if it does or doesn't? If we look at the top of the part? Which centers matter? The center of this object and the center of this object. So this is 5 inches. If I made it even 4 inches and made this 2 inches, would we still be okay to have a platform for this thing to sit on? Visually, do I have a place for both objects to sit on? What should really be the determining factor of what size the base should be? Where this is being used, correct? We don't have a location for where it's going to be used. So, but we need a base just big enough for the two items to be together. Do we want enough room for us to hold the base while we spin the part? Okay, so 4 inches isn't enough, right? So we need maybe 6 inches on the length, so that we have a spot to put our hand on. Notice that. That way we can hold it and spin it. It can be shorter. I just have to move this object, right? Go this way, move it that way. My limit, as far as how far I can move it over, is directly correlated with whatever I choose to use as the center here, which I have no clue yet, do I? Is it a good idea that I make the base a little too narrow, that this object can't fit on it? I think that's a bad move. So I should make this probably 3 inches at least. so that the whole object will fit, not the interior, I'm not talking about the outside diameter. I'm referring to the inside. But we're going to move it over. And for now, for the sake of just moving along, as I like to say, we're going to accept this shape. The only thing I'm trying to do is center it because I'm incapable of just leaving it alone. So I pick that object, divided by 2, so I can at least center the object there. Do we want to give it a particular position this way? Say 1 inch away, right? Just so that we have some understanding of dimensions for this object. A little bit. A little bit's not going to hurt to put in a few dimensions. So I'm moving everything out a little bit so I can see where they are. I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to go ahead and extrude it. Okay, and then we're going to make it as thick as everything else. So do we remember what everything else was? How thick do we choose to make everything else? That's in your notes somewhere? 2? 2 inches or 2 millimeters? Now you notice what happened? I could do 2 millimeters, but you notice how the units of measurement flipped? Was this part, this new part, was it in what units of measurement are we utilizing in this part? The default. It was inches. Okay, now watch what happens. If I say that's okay, but watch what happens. When you go to tools, is it manage view, what was it? Tools, document settings, units. If I flip this to millimeters and I say apply and I hit close, okay? You want everything in the metric system if the entire part is in metric. Now when we edit the sketch, we're dealing with millimeters. It still shows me the inches because that's what I plugged them in as, but now I can say 150 millimeters. I can say 80. I like round numbers, so I'm going to go with 80 on the width, and that automatically fixed itself. Oh, and that's 25.4 because that's the magic conversion factor to inches. So I can just say 25 just because. And then I can finish that sketch. So that was a pretty straightforward update. When I'm done creating this part, I can go to return, and now I'm back to this. Now what I have is the platform is here. See this guy? That's the platform. Now, which I call the base. If I want to, things get a little confusing when I've got multiple parts and they're all gray. So what I can do is change their colors. Up here, we've got a choice of all these different material properties, or we can just, if we don't want material, see, we've got appearance, right? And then we can adjust, we can change the hue of the material, see that? I can pick apart a base, right mouse button, I can go to its, whoops, I picked the wrong item, go into its eye properties, go to its physical state. I can change what it is. Right now it's generic, so there's nothing there. All right. So I can say, no, you know what? I want you not to be generic. I would like you to be, I don't know. What do you want? PVC piping just for fun? Rubber. We'll make it rubber. And instead of a dark gray, we could give it a nice smooth red. Now when we go in here, poof, the background's a different color. Cool. Now the planes, of course, are visually in the way. This is when you get in the habit of doing this a lot, you won't have to have your planes on all the time. So you can go ahead and select them and turn them off. That'll visually make it easier for you to work with everything. We've got the base, we've got the gear. Now, did I accidentally name something twice? We're going to have that conversation next. Okay, all that was off, but what did I call this thing? What did I call the new item? I also gave it the same item as something else, right? Do you see that? Right here. The first item is this one, and I called it base. Gosh darn you willikers. The second item is here. I'm going to turn its plane off. And I call that gear. And then the third item that I introduced today, I called base. That's annoying. So how do I fix that? Okay, so let's try something. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to get an update that says, hey, you're going to save stuff for the first time in some cases. So you've got save state. For the other two items is user edits, mass properties, and then for this new guy right here, it's initial save. Now notice where it wants to save it. Where's the initial save location? Do you see that? So it wants to save it somewhere else. And it specifically says files outside of active project workspace. So if I say, no, I don't want you there. All right, I say yes to you. See that? I'm not going to say okay. I'm going to say yes to you. I'm going to say yes to you. See that? But for you, I'm going to say I don't want it yet. It's I don't have a choice. I can't switch. See, I've got yes to all. I don't want to do that. For you, I don't want you to be saving here. See that? I don't have the option to change that. So what I have to do is go into the base and edit this base. I can do a save from here. Nope, won't let me. So I'm going to return to this. I have to actually open it. Not edit it, but literally open it. I can also open file location. So let me try that one instead. Click on this when you right mouse button and it says open file location. When I open the file location, it'll open it here. Now watch what happens. I'm going to rename it on the fly. What do I want to call it? Bottom? Bottom of assembly. Okay. And now I'm going to exit out of here and see if it updates. Okay. Will it let me? I'm going to return to assembly. And I still called it a base. Nah, my priorities haven't changed. So if I click on this right mouse button and open it, what does it open as? Base. So the file name didn't change. You notice that? When I open the part and when I hit save, I'm going to get problems while saving the document. Okay? It's not going to want to do what I want it to do. I have to pick save as. I'm still going to get problems. So why do I have those problems? Because of what I just did. What did I do? I changed the name of the file in the folder that it is, but the file itself doesn't change. File management, if I hit yes right now, you're going to love this one. I'm going to get, if I hit OK to all this, I should get, there we go, a modification right there. The file is still open, context it on other file, you'll be able to say changes. Do you want to save these now? If I hit yes, I should get an error. There you go. And the thing it tells me is the database could not be opened. The reason the database could not be opened was why? I renamed the file while it was still in the file. Got it? These files are hot linked to each other. This is a very common mistake. That's why I want to make a point of discussing it. When you create an assembly file and you create a new part in your assembly, be very cognizant of where you're saving it. If you randomly decide to say open the location and change the file name, now the data is corrupted in the sense that you've actually messed up Hate to say it to you that way. You've messed up the file information on it. You can't say yes. You're always going to encounter this problem. It doesn't go away. Your only solution is if you try to even do save as, okay? You're always going to get this issue. You cannot randomly decide to change the file name. If I say no, it takes me back in here, and here the base is still here, but if I hit yes and I want to save everything, okay, it saves here, but it really doesn't exist anywhere else. See the little dot that's open right here? See that little round circle that's open? That means it doesn't exist anywhere. It's not a real part. When these guys, you see it's real, got it? So this guy only exists here. So you see how I don't have file location anymore? If I hit open, it exists only here. Don't do this to yourself, please. All right, so I'm going to do it correctly now because I'm going to delete this because I know it's going to never be what I want it to be, which is an independent part that I can manipulate in an assembly and also use in other parts. Okay, so edit, yeah, just delete it. Nope, still, see, I constantly will have that issue. There you go. So to do this correctly, I am going to create a new part. I am going to put it underneath. I'm going to make sure I put it in the correct location up front. See that? Not just wherever it chose to save it. The second mistake I always hear is people, I don't know where that file went. Well, neither do I. I'm not the one who did the drawing. I don't know where that went. So what I want you to remember to do is put your files in the correct location. That way you can find them. All right? So I created a folder. Obviously, if I name this base right now, I should get an error message. I'm not going to because I already know it's there. So what do I want to do? I'm going to call this bottom. Okay? Bottom of assembly, just to be logical. Now you notice I have a habit of doing the underscore of underscore. That's an old school habit. I know you don't have to put the gap. You can leave gaps in there now, but it's just a habit I have. I recommend, of course, my opinion is those habits are good because I've never lost the file, which is kind of nice, other than I don't remember where I put it. The underscore helps me to find things faster, but that's just me. So you do what you want, no big deal. Now it's going to be in the correct location. I hit OK. Now I go ahead and build it. Got it? All right, that's important for you to know. I'm going to go ahead and build my rectangle again. This time I know what I'm doing with it, so I'm not going to sit there and ask a bunch of questions. I'm going to make it about the right size. We talked about this already. I'm going to make sure I correct units of measurement I'm using up front instead of back end. Sketch is where I want to be. I'm going to apply my dimensions. I forgot what I said, so I'm going to make other dimensions. Nothing here is new what I'm talking about, so I'm just doing it real quick just to do it. Oop, 80 is too short. 120 looks reasonable. Finish the sketch. This you know how to do already. We're going to extrude. 2 millimeters is the value that we're extruding everything. There it is. Then I go home. Everything is there. Now notice how the object that I'm in is solid looking. Everything else is ghosted because they're there, but they're not there. All right? I'm going to return. Now everything is back. Now I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to have any mistakes. And I'm going to remove the adaptive feature. Uh-oh. Want to hit save. Yes, yes, I'm good. Yes, yes, Yes. Sorry. Thank you. For some reason this did not update. I'm not sure why, but we'll see in a bit. I'm going to go to the front of the part. Oops, let me do it this way. I'll orbit it just a bit. Again, colors, I forgot. How do I do that? I pick on the object instead of generic. I pick something. I selected plastic of some kind, rubber, and then I changed it to a color of red just for fun. I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick rubber. I'm going to change it to be purple. How's that? What do you think? Just for fun? And then the last object, I'm going to do the same thing too. I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to pick the base and change it to be also rubber. And we're going to change it to be, I don't know, yellow there. My color choices were random, and I do mean random. So please do not, be hung up about the colors. I just picked them out of, at a whim. Now watch. When do we intend to put the holes into our objects so that we can position them into the base, into what's called the bottom of the assembly? Do we want to do it at assembly or do we want to do it before assembly? You can choose in this product. I can go straight into Sketch and go ahead and draw a circle, okay, into this piece. See that? In relationship to, I'm going to do project geometry so I can pick half of the object so I can find the center. I can randomly decide to drill a hole right here. 2 millimeters just for fun. Ooh, that's too small. That's 2 millimeter diameter, not radius. So throw that in there, okay? Finish the sketch. Go into assembly. See, the sketch is up here, guys. Do you see that? Okay, do you see that? See that sketch? And then you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go to design. I have the ability to do bolts and clevises and a whole bunch of other things. I'm going to go to 3D modeling. I'm going to go ahead and extrude. I'm going to drill a hole. And now I'll just do this. I'm going to extrude. My extruding to add material will take material away. How do I want to do this? Let's say I drill it as a hole. So I want to drill a hole. I've got the sketch already. Do I need to do any of this? Let me go back to extrude. Now watch. I'm going to pick the object. It automatically selected it as a cut, by the way. You'll notice how I don't have the ability to add material. See that? You see how I have no ability to add material? It only does what? One operation. When I extrude inside an assembly. It wants to cut. Okay? I hit all right. Looks good. Go to isometric. Go down. There it is. It's gorgeous. I got 2 holes. Yay. No waiting. Isn't that awesome? Okay. Now, what can I do? I can literally take the constraint off of these guys. Remember those constraints we assigned? The relationships are here. All the different relationships. So the last ones we added were down here. So we've got, let's see, this one. I'm going to delete this mate. And the only reason I know where they are, there you go. I deleted that mate, but that still doesn't want to move anywhere. This is important. That's a center mate. I got to remove this mate. See? Now it seems to move. Isn't that beautiful? Still not the way I want to. So how do I get it to move the way I want to? I have to center it somewhere, right? But watch what happens. Do you see the hole? Do you see the hole? What's the problem? The hole's moving. Why is the hole moving? Because where I did the extrude in assembly. I did not do the extrude in the part. So therefore, the hole only exists in assembly and only exists in the relationship that I created in the assembly. Do I really want that hole to be moving around like that? Or was I hoping it to lock into place? I was hoping it to lock into place, right? This is the other mistake people make in assemblies. They see sketch and they jump to it and they start sketching. They're like, Ms. Sherris, why doesn't it do this? Why does it do this? And I'm like, where did you create your sketch? Is the first thing you're going to hear out of my mouth. And you're going to like, well, I created it in assembly. And I'm like, well, that's why it's doing that. Okay? So that's another thing to watch out for. There isn't much to fix when this happens. Your solution is to delete it, because what happens is you can see how it's all the times I moved it around. See that? It moves with whatever object you've assigned it to, the hole, in assembly. So you cannot do this. You actually have to pick the part, right mouse button, and you can either open it or you can edit it. You can either open it to fix it or edit it. Got it? Either case, now you can drill a hole in the center of this object without any issues. This time I'm just going to use the hole command. I'm going to pick, how do I pick the center? Oh gosh darn it, gee willikers. What should I do first? What would I do? Pick the face. Is there a way I can drill a hole correctly through the center of this object? What can I do? How do I position it? If I drop it anywhere, what happens? It goes like anywhere, right? I can pick that and its side wall so I can center it. Did you see that? Let me undo that real quick. Oh, you have to do it in isometrics. Let me try to do it here. I'm going to go to the hole command. I'm going to pick the face. Then I'm going to try it. There you go. Pick the side wall. Watch. Okay, let me pick a bad spot of the face first. That way it'll really become obvious what's going on. I'm going to pick over here. See that? And then I'm going to pick the side wall so it pops in the center. See that? That's what you want it to do. The diameter, I'm going to still pick, what did we pick? 5 last time, just for fun? And I'm going to hit OK. Now you have something you can use. This hole is resident only in that object. All right? I can now create a fourth object. I was about to say third, but we already have 3 on here. Because what does this thing need to attach to this other object? A peg, right? Now I have to ask the other question, should the peg be glued on top of the base, or should I try to glue it through the base? Any suggestions? Have you ever glued something on top of some other object and then it snaps right off, right? So if we're going to build this, what should we do? Yeah, drill through the base first, then build the peg. Got it, guys? This is how CAD is really used. When people look at the product, they're like, oh, I'm just going to do drawings. This is an Inventor class. I'm like, no, this is a design class. You can use this to design anything. That's why I picked the Geneva Gear that was so absent of content. Yeah, this thing is missing its base. It's missing how I'm going to attach it. Whoops, sorry about that. There's no center axle reference. How am I going to work with this product? Because we're going to build it, right? That's our ultimate goal. So I'm showing you how to do that. So now I'm going to edit this one. We're going to go ahead and edit that part. I'm lazy, so what will I do? I'm going to create a sketch on this face, a new sketch, and in my infinite laziness, I'm going to pick project geometry and pick the existing hole off the other part. Did you notice that? And then I'm going to jump to extrude, and I'm just going to cut the hole. Now I have the option of what kind of output I want. That is your visual clue. When you are in assembly and you pick an object, you want to add material, when you only get the choice of cutting, then you know you're actually in an assembly trying to do something. There we go. I'm going to pick, not through all, but I'm going to pick 2, and I'm going to pick that back wall. See that? And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go home, and that hole is there, so I'm a happy camper. Cool. The diameter of that hole will change in relationship to the other object. Do I want this type of relationship? Do I want that hole attached to the other hole? That literally is the same thing as what I did before. Do I want that hole to follow that top object? No. I want it to be static, so what should I do? Break the adaptive relationship now. Got it? You have to break those relationships in order to have control of your product. Then I'm going to return to my assembly. This is sitting there static, no changes. Okay, now what can I do? This guy is stuck in place. This guy won't even move. This can't move. Everything's locked in. This mate has to be removed. Got to delete that mate. Now this thing flies all over the place. But now do you notice it doesn't care, whoops, where the other hole is? See that? See? That's what you want. Now for the step that makes this thing work, we're going to go to assembly, we're going to go to constraint, we're going to pick the center of this object, we're going to pick the center of this object, which is the hole back there. Centers, make sure you see axle references, those vertical axles, not dots. And we're going to hit apply, and voila, it's finally attached. But it's going out. Why is it doing that? What's that about? That's annoying, right? It's doing that because the other part's not attached to anything. It is not. This piece right here is locked. See that? I undid. That's why everything's not working anymore. So what should I do? How do I deal with this? What does the other part need? It needs a home as well, right? But it also needs to rotate. Anything going to be an issue here? When you look at this thing, see any problems? Go for it. Say it louder. Yeah, because of this weird shape. Yeah. Does it have a center? I'm going to get rid of that real quick. Is it missing? Now you can't see it, so I got to change colors. Is it missing a center? Because really that's all you need to do is center these to each other, right? So I need a peg here and I need a peg here. Does the peg here have any place to attach? Now do you see what I mean about CADlandia? I can design in CAD anything. So you can draw something out, but then how the heck do you make it work? That's the missing link. So be mindful when you're using this product for your other classes that you're going to have this issue. This point needs to be static and stuck. You actually need a point in here, which means you need some place to attach it to. So I need to create what? A bridge. Let's see if I've got a custom color of lime. There we go. We need to build a bridge. See that? I don't care which way that bridge is built. It could be built that way or it could be built this way. I made a choice to go one way. It doesn't matter. You can go whatever way you want. But in the center of that bridge, then we can build an actual center axle point. Got it? Then we can make this thing move. Now the question is, how do we want it to move? We want it to move on centers, so this indexes, right? Because that's how a Geneva gear works. So now we're going to go back to this. So this guy needs a change. So we're going to edit this one. We're going to put in the sketch. We're going to put in a nice little rib right here. Very random looking object, yeah. I'm going to project geometry because I am lazy, as we've already covered. I'm going to trim what I don't need away, so I have a rib that fits exactly where I want it to. Dimensioning it, I can give it a width. I'll make it 12 for fun. To the center, we'll make it 12 divided by 2. Okay. We're going to go to 3D model. I'm going to extrude it. I do need to go to isometric so I can see which way it's going to extrude. There's the body. I'm going to say up to next. I'm going to pick the next reference. Whoops. What did it do? Did I accidentally? Yeah, I did. I don't want that body, so I have to cancel. Sorry. It picked the side wall for a minute. I'm going to extrude. I only want to extrude this piece. Yes. Question? No? Okay. I want to extrude it only to the bottom. I actually have to pick the bottom of this. There we go. I want it to only go that far. If I hit OK, uh-oh. Create extrude failure. Why? Okay, let me try it again. Cancel. One more time. Extrude. Pick the object. I'm going to switch directions. I want it to pick to a certain point. So I'm going to, oh, through all. That's why. So I'm going to say through to a certain point. So I'm going to pick the bottom again. There we go. Now I'm going to get it. There you see. There you have it. Cool. Now, should I go into assembly? We've already learned this lesson, so I'm just going to verbalize it. So should I go into the assembly and create my hole there? The answer is emphatically no. We're not putting it there. Now, I dropped the hole where I think it should be, but how do I make sure it's dead center? See that? Just touch the side wall after I drop. I'm going to do that one more time because this is a very subtle thing that gets missed. I go in the hole command. I can drop my hole wherever the heck I put it. Get it? The minute I touch the side wall, it goes dead center. Trust me, this is a very, very useful little trick. Okay? Hit OK. There's your hole. Now I gotta go to the back wall again. I'm done here, so I'm gonna return. So I'm back into assembly. Now I'm gonna edit my back wall again. I'm gonna create a sketch, right? Could I have done it the first time? Yeah, I could have. I just didn't. So can I edit that existing hole that's already in here and just add the other one? Yes, you can. I'm going to edit that sketch. I'm going to go ahead and project geometry of the other hole. Okay. I'm going to do what next? I'm going to finish the sketch, right? What happened? Why didn't it happen? What do I need to do? Edit the extrusion as well. Just because I edited a sketch doesn't mean it recognized it. Remember that, all right? And I hit OK. Now I have the hole. What's the next thing I gotta do? Break the adaptive relationship because the hole will follow the other object, yes? So now this object will flow. That object flows. What's the last thing I gotta do? Whee! Lock this guy down again, right? Go to Constraint. Pick this hole, remember it's the axis of the hole that you're after, not the side wall, please remember that. Axis, apply, that's locked in. Then what? This one, apply, oof, gotta get close to get that one. Apply, voila, that's locked in, you're done. Now, the whole thing spins. Haha. What's next? What did I miss? The whole thing spins. That's good. Not quite what I wanted. Is this thing locked into place? Nope. First thing I have to do is remove its adaptive nature. Next thing I got to do is lock it in to what? The origins of this 3D world that it lives in, right? So if I go to Constraint, and I pick the side wall, and I pick this object, what should I pick? Angle, 0, watch. When I hit apply, it straightens out. Whether I go one way or the other way, actually that's the only way it wants to go, so I'm stuck with it this way. Now it's in position. Do I want it this way? Can I change this? The answer is yes. If I pick 180, see that? Just for fun. I mean, that's a quick way to do it. There's other ways. This is only one method, guys, and as I've told you historically, there's always more than one way to do anything. The reason now this thing doesn't move at all is because we still have these locked into place. Remember this? These to the centers. Let's see which center. That one's good. That one's okay. That one's all right. That one's all right. So let's see which one's our problem. See, what? Not the base. I meant over here where we have relationships all the way at the top. These are the relationships within assembly. That mate's good. This one's all right. That one's all right. That one is good. That one is good. Angle. The angle is relationship to this object, so that's good. So one way to see what the error is you can always delete a number of them. Now everything moves. See that? In space. I can leave just that one because that's actually the only one we need to make this object rotate. I can even remove the last one we threw in there just for fun. And then everything moves. Whee! Got it? This object, I can actually make it stay where I want it to by picking this little feature right here. It's called grounded. When I ground that, it puts a little thumbtack there. This object will not move. Does that object, do I want this object moving, the base, the bottom piece? No. I want this to move, but how do I want it to move? I want it to rotate. So I'm going to go back into Constraint, pick this center, pick this center. No, I want it on top, not on the bottom. Hit apply, and now I'm out. See, now it rotates. Whee! Got that? Now notice it rotates with this. See that? You're going to find some issues. I'm doing this intentionally to you. I'm going to pick Constraint again. I want the bottom of this part constrained to what? The bottom of this. Hit apply. Now this rotates. See that? I see how that's starting to act a little differently. Now here's the biggest challenge. When we do constraint of here, here, to here, these centers, apply, then I get an error. If I say accept the relationship just to do it, it locks it into place. What type of constraint What's the missing link here when it comes to constraints? When we think about all the different constraints, we've got mate, we've got angle, we've got tangent, we have insert, and then we have symmetry, which is it's mirrored images. When you look at this object, how do we want it to move? We want this to rotate, and we want the other piece to rotate. In sync with each other. Let me go show you a video. Let's see if we've got one that has, there's always 1,001 videos out there. We'll do this one for fun. After the commercial. Watch what's tangent with what. Do you see this inner shape? Do you see what it is? Which piece is moving? Is it this piece that's moving or this piece that's moving? And when does this piece move? Watch. It only moves when this goes into the cavity and that's when the indexing occurs. So the next question I have for you is, was this a hole? Could you even tell? If we look at the, let me see if I could find the CAD file. I think I closed out of it in conversation, so hold on. Let me see if I've got it. I gotta pull it up. I guess I did not save it in here. The drawing that you guys are doing, when you look at it, I might have it as a Word document, your handouts. Give me a second. There you go. Scroll to the bottom. All right. What view were you given here, guys? How many views were you given? One, correct? And in this one view, what did we assume about this space? What do we assume this was? We assumed it was a hole. It's not a hole. Got it? Cool? So how do we, which is the whole point of all this, the whole point, no pun intended, how do we fix this? When I open this part up, what should I do? What's a quick fix, guys? If I edit this base extrusion, edit this sketch, I incorporated that as a piece of it, right? So therefore it came through as a hole. So what's the simple fix? Remember, we did it in the past. We did something to the sketch. I'm putting my hand out the way that the icon looks. What can we do? We can do what? Remember? Share the sketch. When you share the sketch, it allows me, and I'm going to actually send this back. Remember how you can hide elements you've created? Extend them out. Remember that? So I'm going to hide everything else so I can go back to this. I can do that. I can share the sketch. Then I can go ahead and extrude, creating a new sketch on that face. Whoa, but that's not what I want. What do I want? I want just this piece. Do I want it from the top or do I want it from the absolute bottom? I'm getting it from the bottom, which is good, so I won't have a weird cavity. Now, how tall should I make it? At least twice the distance, exactly. So 4 millimeters is perfect. I agree with you. See that? Then when I unhide this, it's going to be upset with me because, hey, it's putting a hole where nothing existed before. Or what is this? It's this piece. That was that bridge. So I can delete the bridge. It wants to delete dependent sketches. That's why I want to show you this. You have to say, no, don't do that. But thank you. Don't delete that either, but thank you. See that? You can go and delete these sketches now on your own. See that? And does the hole go through? Yes, it does. Done. That's how you can fix it. And you can X out of this, and you're back into this assembly, and voila. Now I have an object that has something I can attach to. Annoyingly, it's hard to see these objects. So what can I do in the different ways that I view my objects? Remember that one? Under tools? Is it tools or was it view? Remember view? Instead of doing shade smooth, I can do shade with edges so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Get it? Got it, guys? Now when I look at my image, there's my assembly. There's this part. There's the notch right there. But what's going to happen if this object rotates? I have to take away the mate here real quick. Which mate? The center mates, to be honest. The mate that's preventing us from rotating is this one right there. First I gotta delete it. There we go. Now this will rotate, but what does it do? It rotates up here. This rotates on its own. This rotates independently. I'd want this piece flush. Constraint. Pick the bottom of this object. Pick the top of this object so they're flush to each other and hit apply. Now what do I notice? Where these two objects intersect. Do you see that? That intersection point, where you see these two pop, you see that, the light green? See that light green? You can also show it by, when you go, I think it's in design, nope, I'm looking for interference. Annotation inspect will give me interference. Object 1, object 2. Define my object sets and hit OK. Uh-oh. There is an interference. What are you talking about? Object 1, object 2, hit OK. There we go. See that? That's your interference right there. You see that? That interference when you look back at the CAD file is what, try that one more time, is what this is about. Try that again. Come on, you. See those? Got it, guys? That is why you have to account for that here. Now, what was that number that they used? They said it was a radius of 27, and this curvature is a radius of 27. But did we know where this radius of 27 existed? That was part of the issue, right? That's why we didn't put it in right away. So guess what? Do we know where it is now? Yes. How do we use this knowledge in assembly to do this correctly? Let's just be clear about that. How should we do it correctly? You can always just do it any which way and hopefully it works, but what's the thing we should try to do? We want the center. We don't want it off on the side, right? We don't want to accidentally put the crop a little too far over, a little too far. How do we make sure it's all centered? What's a good way for prepping this assembly to do it correctly? We have this center, remember that? There's the center of one object. That's the bottom though. We just want to worry about these two together. So we have the center of the gear. And we have the center of the base. Are those the two centers I want to align? Or do I want them to be 90 degrees to each other? When I go to constrain them, I want them to be 90 degrees from each other. That way I'll nail the position correctly. The gear and the base. Is that correct? Or do I want it to be 0? What's moving, guys? Do you see which one's moving? Let's try it again. This one? With which one? Do you want it with that one? And do you want them to 90 degrees? Is it moving? I do not see it moving. I'm picking the two, but it's not moving. Did the original one lock in? That's why. The original one locked in. So let me try this one more time. Constraint. This one. With this one. Let's try that one more time. These are the two I'm trying to lock in. But do I want them at what angle to each other, guys? Can't get them to do 90. There, no, didn't do 90. Okay, undo again. Where do I find the different mates? Are these two locked in now? Nope, they're still not locked in correctly. What should I do with this guy? Should I lock this one down first? Remember all the locks we had before, guys? We deleted them all. Remember that? To original. So we're going to constrain this to which one? To this. We want them to be what? Just aligned with each other. If I hit apply, why won't it align? Because what is this? What's the offset on this one? 0. So if I pick angle instead, this one to this one, angle of 0, will that work? See that? The angle worked, but when I wanted to use a line, it expected a distance of 0, which wasn't going to happen. Now that one's done. Now the next one, the gear, which one do I want to line, guys? If I take this one to origin, do I want them at 0 or 90 degrees? Wow, why doesn't it do it? Sorry. Is it 90 or what angle, guys? I'm going to keep saying it until I get the right answer out of it. What angle should I be putting it at? Is it 90 or some other angle? $45. Get it? Yes, I'm being obtuse with you. No pun intended, yeah? All right, so now these two are perfectly aligned. And what was the point of me doing this? So that I can go and edit this part for the sole purpose of using that little half arc. So I can do what? Project it into this piece. But which one am I going to be editing? This guy. I'm going to go ahead and edit this part. I'm going to create a new sketch on this surface. I can actually edit that sketch if I want to as well. It doesn't matter. But then what am I going to do? I'm going to project geometry from the other object. Do you see that? See what I did there? Then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to extrude. Do I want to extrude the whole thing or what piece of it? Is that extrude or what am I doing? I need to trim. Because what am I trimming off? That piece, yes? You see that now? When I do something like that, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to give me an error message because of what? Possibly another relationship I have there? Uh-oh. Yep, another relationship. Now you get to see the mess of what happens with other parts related to each other. So what's another way I can avoid this error? Remember what I said, you can either create a new sketch or edit one. In this case, I'm going to create a new one because I'm going to have less stuff to worry about. I'm still going to do the project geometry business. Okay, I'm still going to project the geometry of these two objects. I'm still doing that. See that? So I have that intersecting face to use to each other. What will I do next to avoid any unnecessary issues? What should I do? Remove the adaptive relationship, please. That's where a lot of the problems come from. Then when you do the extrude of just that shape and I do it as a cut, I'm only going to do it up to next, so it goes to the next part of the surface. I'm going to hit OK. There's my scallop. Got it? When I look at my gear, I've got all my different elements. Everything looks good. What's the next thing I should do? Pattern it around, yes. I have my center axis, which is good, the x-axis. I'm going to go ahead and do a circular pattern of this feature. Okay, the feature itself is which one? This last object I cut. I'm going to send it around this rotational axis that I selected. Ooh, is that axis going the right way? Nope. So let me go back into this mode again. I'm going to take this extrusion. I'm going to circular pattern it around this center axis. Now it's going to be correct. I accidentally picked the wrong center. That's what I like about preview, but how many do I need? I don't need 6, I need 4. I hit OK, and I'm done. Return my, exactly, clapping hands, exactly. I hit accept, and it goes off in La La Land. What's the issue, guys? Remember what I told you about the business with adaptive? Even though I had adaptive turned off for the one item, it wasn't turned off for the other items. Adaptive can fight you. Did you see that? Adaptive can fight you. So hopefully this will do the trick. There we go. And leave it alone. And hit save. I'm going to say yes to all. Hit OK. By the way, save, and save often. Please, get in the habit of doing that. Now we have something that resembles what we're after. We've used the objects to get this done. I'm not quite sure why adaptive is on for that one anymore, but it was there. So this guy, will it turn? Not yet. I am going to turn the sketches off so I don't, visibility, I don't want it to be in my way. As I turn this object, let's see what happens to my angles. Okay, these are the reasons nothing will work. So remember when we put these in so we could lock them in? We're going to delete those. Now this spins, and this spins, but they still don't spin with each other. What should we do? How do we get them to spin with each other, guys? Because we want this to spin. See that? And when it hits this, then we want the other piece to spin. That'll be the last thing I talk about because it's already at the end of class. So I'm going to end the video. This is as far as we got today. And we've got a few other things to fix. I'm going to hit save so that way we know where we stopped and then we'll know where to begin. And this will end this video.